few minutes ago, I was talking to somebody, and the Lord just poured out just the tiniest little nugget of something. And I expect you to test it, to look at the Word, to see if it's possible that I heard the Lord on this. And I'm not saying this is the only interpretation or the only application, or that I'm completely right about this. But this is the way He explained something to me. And I grabbed a pillow and put it over my head because I had to be under something for how scary it was. If there'd have been room under the bed, I'd have crawled under the bed. There have been times when He had me pray something so fervently that it felt like every cell in my body was pointed at that one prayer. Sometimes I'll have to go out in the van, in my van, far away from everybody, out the park someplace, and scream because words won't even work. And the immediacy of how bad things are, the scope of how bad things are, the scale, the bigness of the pain that we're causing Jesus. I prayed to see through the eyes of Jesus. I prayed to share in His sufferings. I had no idea what I was praying. But it hurts really bad. And there have been times when those prayers I can't even get enough volume. I can't even get enough behind Him. This vessel cannot contain what He's trying to pour through and out. And in times I really thought I was going to die. That I would just bust up into a million pieces all over the van, splattered everywhere, for what was trying to push through me. Imagine if every pain in your life, every bit of suffering, every insult, every time anybody did anything to you or hurt you, every angst-filled moment in your life was compressed down into one tiny little ball, in a one quivering nuclear explosion, and came blasting out your mouth at somebody. We've probably all had times when we didn't realize it, but we were packing down resentment or bitterness or whatever, and then somebody pushes our buttons, and they don't even deserve it, but all this stuff comes rushing out at them and explodes all over them and just vomits up on them. Sometimes they deserve it. I know that the Lord has put something in my heart that the times when, it's not even me, but the times when that little veil, the tiniest little bit, He parts that veil, stuff just comes screaming out of there. And I can barely contain it. And I know that it's wrecked people and showed them fear of the Lord. And their heart physically hurt for 5 days. After they put their hand on my chest, and the Lord said, okay, pull the veil. And it just comes tearing out of there, and they have fear of the Lord, and it wrecks them. And I've known that if He really opened it up, it could be a stadium full of people. They're all going to be on their face. And it's not just me. If the stuff that he's put in you, if the Christ that he's put in you comes screaming out of there, nothing could stand. Nothing could stand. It would flatten cities. It would kill everything for 500 miles. I have no idea. Please. Please listen. Please try. Revelation 19, 11 through 16. Then I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse. He who sat upon it is called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he judges and makes war. His eyes are like a flame of fire, and on his head are many diadems, and he has a name inscribed which no one knows but himself. And he is clad in a robe dipped in blood. And the name by which he is called is the Word of God. And the armies of heaven, arrayed in fine linen, white and pure, followed him on white horses. From his mouth issues a sharp sword with which to smite the nations, and he will rule them with a rod of iron. He will tread the winepress of the fury of the wrath of God the Almighty. On his robe and on his thigh he has the name inscribed, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Please hear me. In one flash, in one instant, I was talking about that scream that comes out of me, that scream that just... And it just, I don't know that it was words. I don't know that it was anything except just an understanding. And I don't know that I can even repeat it without it. But in a second he said, that verse is about my scream. That verse is when everything I've been holding in, every pain, we're talking about Jesus Christ, every whipping, every stoning, not just his physical body, his spiritual body, the church, every division, every faction, every idle word, every time a little kid was raped, everything that he's been standing by and taking, every bit of suffering that he's taken on our behalf, everything that he's held inside is going to come screaming out like a sword. Everything. The size and the scope and the scale of that compressed down into one little screaming ball, and that sword comes out. And whoever else is on horses around him that asks to share in his suffering, they're so happy to see him finally be able to let this out, that they're letting theirs out, that they've been holding and carrying and helping. And it will shake everything, and it will destroy everything. And he's not coming as a warm, soft, fluffy lifeguard. He's not coming with a little lamb around his neck, perfect hair and blue eyes. He's coming with a robe dipped in the blood of his enemies, walking the winepress of God's wrath as a conqueror. And he's coming to get out, to finally let loose all the stuff that he's been carrying and square everything. And I do not want to be on the receiving end of that. I do not want to be still standing. When that comes screaming out of him. Get right.